There was a question on that. Someone wants to know what you think about sophisticated versions of atheism and naturalism, not new atheists. They gave some examples. Sobel, Mackey, Oppie.
Yeah, we just said that. Oppie, Sobel, Draper, Mackey especially was a very... Now, but the thing curious, though, is when you read, say, Mackey's The Miracle of Theism, I don't disagree with any of his arguments because he's arguing over against forms of theism that I think are already intellectually compromised because they're treating God as an object within the manifold of nature. So they're already so far removed from the Christian metaphysical tradition that I take seriously. That when I read Mackey, I agree with him. It's like, yeah, I don't believe in this super being either. I believe in a God who's the fullness of being, consciousness, bliss. So these arguments, there's no such thing as a sophisticated naturalism. That I would say. Sophisticated atheism, in the sense the rejection of a bad theism, and a sophisticated moral atheism that refuses assent to belief on the grounds of suffering. Mm-hmm. Naturalism is a metaphysics which I think is so inherently contradictory that it doesn't deserve the same sort of respect. You don't have to hate it fanatically or view it as an antagonist, but I think that naturalism fails explanatorily and fails the test of internal coherence so resplendently, so sublimely that it's not even really a live option. So you have to distinguish between those things. Atheism in the sense of a rejection of bad theism. Atheism is a moral protest against the form and fashion of this world. That's fine. Naturalism is a metaphysics. I put on, basically the same level as Scientology.
What about the versions of naturalism that bring in all sorts of aspects which are indistinguishable for religion and then try to claim that they're not religious?
Yeah.
Right. Well, then they're not really naturalisms, are they? They just pretend to be, To me, especially when people speak of non-reductive physicalism or non-reductive naturalism, well, if it's non-reductive, it's not a physicalism and it's not a naturalism. So, yeah, sure, go for it. Redefine, quite often I was having an argument. I won't say who he was because it's not fair to cite a philosopher and then do your own précis of his position because that you could be not doing justice. But basically, he would say, well, I don't believe in God. I believe, though, that there's some, ultimate ground where the difference between existence and consciousness no longer holds true, and that this has a rational structure and that necessitates the universe as a whole perhaps is this thing, which, and slowly it began to emerge that what he was talking about is what, might be called the mind of God or whatever. And I said, well, you can change the language you're using, but that's not going to alter the fact that you're not a naturalist. You just think you are. Let me turn on an overhead light. It's getting dark in here. So.